So tell me this: how you met Dad now?
I went to this dance that I always went to 3 times a week. All through the dance time, no one from that group asked me to dance. I didn't even know they were there. So I have like 4 girls, friends, that were all walking home together. And I would be the last one. But anyway, we always walked home together. One by one would leave. And this car stops and I hear this voice saying, "Express to Simpson Street." I said,
Well, who was saying
Andy
that?
Zavada. And that was Dad's best friend. And it was filled with boys. So we all piled in the car, and one by one the girls were left out because I would be the last stop. And when we got out, I thanked him, went into the house. And
Well, you forgot something.
No.
When you got into the car, you had to sit on.
Well, I was sitting on this guy's lap, and it turned out to be your father, which I didn't know at the time. He didn't introduce us.
I don't know.
So
It's here, but
that's,
he's
it was like a Saturday, so Wednesday was date night. So he called up and wanted to know if I would go out with him. And I said, "Well, who is this?" And he says, "This is Alan." "Al who?" "Well, don't you remember?" He said, "You sat on my lap." "Oh, I did. Oh, okay." So he comes in, I sees him for the first time, and we just kind of clicked. And this was, I don't know, was it October or so?
Would this be 1946?
It was the year before we got married.
So that'd be 46.
That's how we got, I even forget when we got married, 1947. But we start going out together, and he actually never really proposed to me. He just asked me one time, "What kind of ring do you like?" And I always said, "Just like my mother's, a solitaire." Because I always said I wanted to be just like my mother when I grew up. And the next time he comes, he gives me this ring, and I said, "Oh, am I engaged?" Yeah, so he said,
Well, how long was this after you met him?
about 3 months or so.
Oh, pretty
It was
quick.
real quick. And I asked my mother, I said, "I just got engaged
but I'll show you how to do
and we want to get married, but could we come and live with you?" Had no place to go. So my mother said yes. So we stayed with them after we got married.
And how long after you got engaged did you get married? Do you remember what month? Because you were married in May.
Yeah, I think about, I don't know if it was before Christmas or after Christmas. I don't even remember now. Maybe I'll say November. And then we made plans to get married in May. I wanted to get married on my mother and father's anniversary in April, but she said it'd be too quick. There was too much to do. So all my father's sisters and my mother prepared all the food. I don't even remember eating. Oh, and we had a little trouble with Al's family when it came to the best man, because your dad was always very close to, friendly to Andy Zavada. That's who you're named after, Andrew. Because your father and him were like this. And the family started getting upset, his family, that he didn't pick a brother. Well,
and then you just go through.
he still got what he wanted, and I was never a fancy person. I didn't like a lot of fancy stuff. So I had my one cousin that was in the same grade with me, and we were friends, growing up, as my maid of honor.
We would need something better.
And I'm very easygoing, and she said to me, what
Oh, it's a Lego. I got it.
would you like me to wear, what color and whatnot? And I said, whatever you feel comfortable in. Well, she picked like an aqua, and she had blonde hair, and it was just so beautiful. And I had one good close friend that said, you know, I'd be a bridesmaid if you're going to have more. I said, no, I'm just want the maid of honor. I said, but I want you to come to the wedding. In fact, I said, you could be the one to drive us to church and take us around. Her name was Marilyn. No, it wasn't Marilyn. What was her name? I forget her name already. So long ago. But we were friends, and then when we decided, Dad was having problems with his allergies, and the doctor said, you either go to the ocean shore or you go to a dry desert state, which would be Arizona.
Right.
And both your dad and I were adventurous, and we decided to move
Good. Well,
to Arizona.
But back to Dad though. So what did you like about him? What made you want to get married to him?
We just were very comfortable together. And he always did whatever I wanted. He did. Your father was an old grouch at times, but he was always very good to me, and we both loved to travel. And after he retired, I worked for a while, which I really enjoyed, and they liked me at Dillard's. But finally I retired when I was 82, and your dad and I traveled. We traveled. And saw the northern Arizona with the big redwoods. We have albums filled of all of our travels. But I was an awful picture taker. I remember every time I would take a picture of Dad, I'd either have something hanging in front of the lens, or I wasn't very good at taking pictures. But we traveled as much as we could, and he did whatever I wanted. He did. He was an old grouch at times, but he did whatever I wanted.
So.
And
Well, question though. Now I'm getting a little personal. Did you have a lot of boyfriends back in high school?
yes, I did.
Who were some of your favorites?
One of them was, his name was Leonard Kello. And he was a tall, slender fella with red hair. And he played the accordion. He was very musical. And in his senior year, it was because I went through high school throughout the whole war. So most of the boys, or a lot of the boys, would leave school to join the service. Well, he didn't, but he was a year younger than me. He was a tall fella, red hair. Leonard Kello, I'll never forget him. But he went away to college in his senior year, and he became distant. I'd be writing to him, but he'd never write back. And then I just gave up on him. Then I ignored him. And he kind of gave up on me.
Were there others? Other boyfriends? Besides Leonard?
Yeah, there was another one. He was an ex-Marine, but I think I liked the uniform more than the guy. I don't know. There was something about Dad.
That's what the people on the talk radio I was listening to. So
Well, I guess he was the one because I was married to him for a long time.
It was a lot of years, 60 some years.
And then when we were decided to move to Arizona, my father says to him, "Why didn't you take care of your medical problems before you got married?" Well, anyway, I picked Arizona because, and there we were in this old Chevrolet, putting along, going 35 miles an hour. And when we got to Arizona, it was like stepping into a new world. The heat, the cowboys, the mountains, and I fell in love with Papago Park. I mean, in Cano Park, we'd spend every Sunday there, laying on a blanket under a tree, and then we'd go to the movie, and then we'd go to the movie down in Tempe. I think it's still there. And Randolph Scott was my favorite cowboy at the time. I wanted to name you Randy Scott. Your father said, no. First time he ever said no to me. Andrew.
I approve of that.
So, and I know it was for his best friend, Andrew.
Well, but you waited. There were 2 boys before me.
Well, because Richard was my favorite name at that time. And Robert, we had so many Roberts in our household, you know, between my sisters and well, anyway, I decided Robert Stephen. Only I said, don't spell the name S-T-P-H-E-N. To me, that's not Stephen. It's S-T-E-V-E-N. Is that the way you spell it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And not only that, I became my Bob. Because you know what I'm talking about. Back in Swarsville, everybody was either, well, you know, my Bill or my Joe, my Bob. You know, there's always a my in front of it.
Well, Aunt Mary Ann married a Bob, and Joan married a Bob. She named her first son Bob. And then I come along and I say, Robert. And Joan said, we have so many Roberts in the household now, you know, in the family. I said, that's all right. I said, got different last names. Oh. And we lived when Bob was born, I thought our house would be ready in Little Falls, which it wasn't. And there we were in this 2 little bedroom and a kitchen, shared the bathroom apartment with a new baby. Well, Richard, my father came and got Richard, and they kept him for a while. Then you had the worst case of prickly heat, was it? Oh, poor guy. I felt so sorry for him. I didn't know what to do.
Poor Bob.
But you survived it. And I think we celebrated Richard's birthday at our new house in Little Falls, and all my family came out. Had a big celebration. Then there was the couple that lived behind us. Our backyard sort of met. Evelyn and Mervin. Oh, anyway, they divorced. They moved out here before us because they heard me talk about Arizona so much that they decided they're going to come out. But for Richard's, whatever birthday it was, I forget, my whole family came out. And my mother and father gave me a lot of furniture and draperies and whatnot. My father traveled a lot in New Jersey because he was a business manager for this union. So instead of staying in a hotel, he'd stay with us. One night he said, isn't there any, my father used to like to have his beers. So he said to me, don't you have any place around here, you know, like we have back in Pennsylvania where we could go? And there was a place in Cedar Grove, we were right on the border of Little Falls and Cedar Grove. And Al said, I got a place to go to. So they went, and my father was able to hold his liquor, and your father couldn't hold his liquor. He came home and he was tipsy and he was laughing and I was mad and I'm screaming at both of them. So I made something for him to eat. I don't even know where he went to sleep, on the floor somewhere, I guess. But my father was a very patient man. I loved him dearly.